Hi there, it's Shep Hyken, Customer Service and Experience Expert, here for another Customer Service Hangout, and I am excited because we are doing a second Hangout with Michel Falcon from Vancouver, BC. I guess you could say that the United States is the lowermost province of Canada, or we could say that Canada is the 51st state. We all get along pretty well, don't we?
What about Canada being the U.S.'s top hat?
Well, there you go. How about the North American top half? Because we don't want to get in trouble for saying anything politically incorrect. So, Michel, it's great to have you back. And we are going to talk about something pretty cool. We're going to talk about how companies are making their customers more efficient, smarter, and more successful. And this sounds like an interesting concept. Tell me about some of the companies that are doing this really well.
Well, the whole theme of how this all came together was, just me kind of sitting down and thinking and just being like, what are companies doing right now? What are their competitive advantages and what are the current trends? And I put those three themes together just to make your customers smarter, more efficient, and successful. Some companies, so on making your customers smarter, Zendesk, we just spoke about them a moment ago. Zendesk, for those not familiar, is that very, very popular customer service platform that recently IPO'd this year. And Shep, I know that you have held a fantastic webinar with them. But how they make their customers smarter is if you go to their website and click the resource tab on their main navigation, you're going to see a wealth of knowledge, webinars, infographics, white papers on how to make your customer or your business more customer centric. And for that, they don't just limit that to their clients, their current paying clients. Prospective clients can go on there as well too. And when you put yourself, think about this, Shep. We admire elementary and high school teachers, professors as well too, because they're educators, right? We admire them for that. So when a company does the same thing, but for commerce, we admire them for that, and they typically win. And Zendesk is a fantastic example of that. Educate your customers, make them smarter, and you're going to have that genuine connection with them, right? There'll be an emotional connection. So that's on the smarter side. On the efficient side, there's a company called Zen Payroll. So very similar in the sense of Zendesk, but it's Zen Payroll, and they are SaaS software that allows small businesses to do their payroll. Now, I know the big leaders in that space have been ADP and Ceridian for ages, and I know the payroll process system because I used to be an employee of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, a medium-sized business. There's nothing glamorous about the current model of payroll processing. But with Zendesk, if you ever look at their user interface or their user experience, it's fantastic, and it makes the person in HR, your accounts payable person, or your payroll person rather, it saves them time. Like if you go on Twitter and search the handle Zen Payroll, there's tons of customers out there just saying, we love you, like with exclamation points as far as the eyes can see. So that's what Zen Payroll is doing to be successful, is they're making their customers more efficient. And when you make them more efficient, of course, they'll become more loyal. And then on the third point.
Now, before we go into, I just want to make a couple of comments. And there's a theme here, and you're going to talk about what companies that are really good at helping their customers be more successful. I see a theme here is that the companies like Zendesk that you mentioned, they not only support and help their clients, they're willing to share the information with everybody. But most important, both of these companies that you mentioned are trying to make their customers more successful. What a cool concept. And I know successful is your third leg of the stool, or the tripod, if you will, but think about this for a moment, and I'm getting this picture that, it's not like we're trying to sell somebody a product. We're trying to sell a client a product that makes them more efficient, that we're helping them become more knowledgeable. Hence, we're going to try to make them successful. So I wrote a whole piece at one point, and actually featured it as one of 7 major strategies in one of my books about creating partnership with clients and customers. And that's more than just having a vendor relationship where I sell you something that you need. No, we partner together to make you or make both of us more successful.
Absolutely. And which book was that in?
That was in the Amazement Revolution, which
Right.
subtitle is 7 Customer Service Strategies to Create an Amazing Customer Experience.
Before I get into the successful part of it, I absolutely agree with you. It is a partnership, similar to, a marriage. We need to support each other so that we are both happy, efficient, successful. And then that's just kind of the classic win-win situation, right?
Right.
Going into the successful part, I know that banks in America, such as Chase, for example, has that you use your phone and you can deposit the check, right, by taking a picture. We just got that in Canada. We're laggards in that sense. But Tangerine Bank, which is the old ING Direct, they recently rebranded. They were the first in Canada to come out with the check snapping ability. And I had always been a customer of one of their competitors for 20 years. And then I saw the ads about the new service or feature, and I thought to myself, I was like, the only time I had ever gone to the retail physical location of my bank was to deposit checks. So how long does it take me to deposit a check? I have to drive there, I have to wait in line, I have to drive home. That's an hour of my time. If I have to do that 4 times a month, that's 4 hours. Whereas now with Tangerine, which I switched over to, I have accounts with both now, but because Tangerine had that feature that made me more successful, and how I define success, could be different than how you define success and how your wife Cindy does as well too. But for me, if I can save myself 4 hours a month from having to go into retail location, I'm going to be more loyal to that company that's saving me that time, because now I have 4 hours a month to hang out with my girlfriend, my mother, my father, my dogs, to go exercising. So that is success to me.
Or talk to your clients and build stronger relationships. I mean,
Absolutely.
4 hours is 10% of a typical work week.
Yes.
Think about that. Think about that's when you start to equate the companies that. And by the way, I'm not saying that your first bank was doing anything wrong. They just didn't create this technology. And what Tangerine did is they created what I refer to as a demanding customer. You went back to your existing place of business and you said, I want what somebody else is giving me. And that existing business said, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Or in some cases, they'll say, no, we won't do it. It's unreasonable. It doesn't fit in our model. And guess what happens? You end up opening an account somewhere else. Well, guess what? Tangerine just cracked the door open. And ideally, down the road, if they're really good, they're going to start showing you other services and other products that they have that are going to take you further and further away from your original bank to the point where you eventually switch. And that's what they're doing. So, fascinating concept. Here's my next question for you. It sounds like sometimes this happens by accident. All of a sudden we wake up one day, we have a great product, we're servicing our clients or customers, they're becoming more successful, and it happened by accident. It sounds like the companies you're referring to are starting out with this purposely. It's in their mind. Is that right?
I would absolutely agree. And with Tangerine, coincidentally, before I had written a blog post about this theme and included them in it, I held a keynote speaking engagement for their executive team, and their theme of the 2-day workshop or retreat was to create an experience Canadians have never seen before. And right away I was like, that is awesome. So they are, it's a premeditated. Customer experience is a premeditated design of what your customer goes through from beginning to end. And Shep, you and I, when we were in Florida together, we discussed this. This is how good my memory is. We're on the balcony having coffee between our engagements, and we talked about this. Customer service is an action. When I go to a grocery store and pay for my groceries, that person is giving me customer service. It helps operate the business. Customer experience is a team of people within an organization from different departments that get together and design everything, right? So if you know, let's say going to the movie theaters, for example, to design that customer experience, you need your web team or your marketing team, because one of the touch points is the website. You need even your janitorial staff to have a voice because they clean the bathrooms. I have a touch point with that. Your concession stand team and so forth, right? So it's a premeditated design.
Yeah, it's your journey mapping it out, and you're bringing everybody into it. And I think that's what the best companies do. They bring all departments together, or they take a look and they can see the global view of their company. And different customers are going to have different scenarios. If a customer doesn't use the website, they're going to go straight to the ticket office at the front of the movie theater, as opposed to having printed out their tickets or and going straight to the area, the turnstile where you walk in. It always, I love the Seinfeld episode that where you know which one I'm talking about.
Totally do.
Why does the guy sell the tickets, hand you the tickets, and 10 feet later somebody else has to take the ticket? Why can't they just take their money and say go inside?
I totally hear that, and think movie theaters now where you can print out your tickets online and just go straight through. Think of how much more that potentially makes them profitable, because they don't have that person, whatever they're paying them, having to physically rip tickets or take in, hand out tickets all the time, right? So it does, customer experience, if done properly, can make your company more profitable as well too, because it's a well-oiled machine. It operates efficiently.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, and technologies that allow you to do that, and so make you more efficient, make you more profitable. The airlines are a great example. They've trained passengers to book online. They even charge you more if you don't book online and go to the reservations department. You print out your boarding pass. Now they don't even have to pay for the paper because you're putting it on your paper, or you're putting it on your iPhone or your smartphone and walking in with it. And they have trained, and this is a great example, I think, because the airlines, while they become made us more efficient travelers, they've made things quicker for us. They've made the trip more successful for us because we can do things in less time. We have a little bit more control over things. We don't have to rely upon an agent at a ticket counter while we're standing in line to eventually drive our boarding pass. I mean, in many situations, this is what they've trained their their passengers to do. And as a result, it's made the airline more efficient and more profitable. Am I right?
Yes, and it's a win-win, because now Shep Hyken doesn't have to spend his time waiting in a line that 20 years ago you had to spend an hour or two in that line. So you're winning because you're saving time. You get to spend that time with your clients or with your wife. And the airline's winning because they just increased their margins, even by saving paper.
So it's pretty cool. Technology is where we're headed with this, because you can't do the things that we're talking about right now without great technology. And I know that's one of the points that you made in the article that I recently read about this whole concept. So why don't you expand on that for us?
So because everyone is pro-technology, I would say for the most part, because it's tied in with being efficient, I no longer have to go to the bank anymore. I just open up the Tangerine app, deposit a check like that. It goes back to the whole theme of just becoming efficient, more successful. And now it's not to say that traditional ways of operating are obsolete entirely. Some industries, yes, some industries not. But you must have you must create the technology with the customer experience in the forefront of your thought process and your design. Steve Jobs, and I think it was a video in 1991 or 1989 or something, he said it way back when. He said you have to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. So as you were mentioning customer touch points and the journey mapping of it, you have to map that all out and then look at it from a 10,000-foot angle or viewpoint and say, where can we better our technology to support this customer experience? Personally, Shep, I would take a more efficient customer experience that is powered by technology over a friendly one. And what I mean by that is, if I went to my old bank and deposited checks the old way, I see a friendly person, right? They're always friendly to me. There's tons of value in that still. But for my preference, personal preference, I'd rather sit on my couch, on my in my robe, and just deposit my checks through my phone. That is what I would like. And I think that's what the banks want to, or any industry, because it does grow their margins, whether they want to admit that or not. What are your thoughts on that? Do you take efficient over friendly?
Well, I think you can have both in the same place. I mean, you can create a very positive user experience. I love an example of PayPal, and so many people use PayPal to send funds to either friends, family members, or buy goods and services with. The first time you go on PayPal, it's not fun. You're worried. You're putting in bank account information. You're giving them social security number type information. And what happens is you take 15, 20 minutes or longer the first time, and you just want to make sure you do it right. And as soon as you hit the button, boom, it's successful. Okay? Now, this is different than having to pull out my checkbook, write a check, put it in an envelope, address the envelope, put a stamp on it, walk over to my mailbox. I mean, it's the same thing you're talking about with the bank. But here, I think, is where, even though it seems to be a technological experience, they make it easy. And this has been my point. I actually wrote about this in an article that I've got coming out in the next couple of weeks, is that the goal is people do business with people. Well, even if the people you do business with never talk to you and they always go on a website to do business with you, that website is designed by people to be used by people. So it should still be some type of, it may not be a human experience, but it's humanizing in the sense that it's easy to understand, easy to navigate, and there's always a fallback. I'm sure that if you look in that Tangerine app and you've got a problem and you aren't sure it went through, they give you suggestions on how to check on that, including a phone number to call to talk to a person that can help you if needed.
They absolutely do, but I agree with you. And you know what it comes down to? The friendly part. So when I'm using my phone and going on any app, it even comes down to the copy that I'm reading. Like, does that, is it in a friendly tone, or is it in a very robotic tone that's like, we value your business? Like, you know what I mean? What type of copy do you have there? That can be friendly, right? And, again, I can only speak for Michel Falcon, but I would prefer technology to make me more efficient so I don't have to. And I know we're using the bank as an example. This is applicable in really any business. But we'll think about Blockbuster and Netflix. Sure, the Blockbuster experience was fun for the kids. I don't know, because I was always there as a kid, but I was never a parent. But I could not imagine parents love to go into Blockbuster because there's kids running everywhere. It's mayhem. But I personally rather sit on my couch and click one button and watch my movie than go to Blockbuster, drive there, drive back. I remember it being a really noisy, kind of hectic, chaotic place. But anyways, that's just another example.
Well, so I'm not going to disagree that in many cases, technology trumps sometimes the positive experience you might get from a smiling person being nice to you. But we can still incorporate some of that nice and not so much the humanizing experience, but the positive experience into the technology experience. I mean, even it's something as I just recently bought from a company, I cannot remember who the company is that sent this email, but I immediately received back the email, we've received your order. This is Bob the Robot or something, Rob the Robot, and just want to let you know that we have received the order and this is what's going to happen. And they let me know, hey, this is an automated response, and they did it in a cute and clever way. And I smiled, and that's it. Amazon, the moment they receive the order, I get confirmation. The moment it's shipped, I get confirmation. Companies will tell you what the tracking numbers are. All this is done via technology, which gives you the opportunity to watch, track, monitor, and everything else you need to do to feel comfortable that your shipment's on the way. Hey, let's shift to another topic in that I think I know where this is going. You believe there aren't any barriers to getting to this level. That it sounds to me like the technology is coming commonplace and relatively inexpensive to implement. Talk to me about why you think there aren't any barriers to entry as far as creating an environment that's going to make your customers smarter, more efficient, and more successful.
I think companies, regardless of size or industry, every company is extremely vulnerable. If you want to enter an industry, regardless of whatever one it is, if you couple two things, better technology and a better customer experience, you can go right into the back door of the industry and really start shaking things up. Last year and the year before, Uber and Airbnb shook up the transportation and the hospitality industry. For me personally, I'm always thinking about like what industries aren't super, very customer focused or lack that. And I think of like the law firms, like law firms. I personally never had an amazing experience within law firms. I am not a lawyer, but what I could do is here in Vancouver, I could partner with a couple lawyers. They do the practice. I'm the customer experience brain. Boom, right in the back door of that industry, and I can start taking clients away from them. Right? Uber is a $19 billion valued company, and Airbnb I think is $10 billion, and they are 4 years old. And they did that. They provided a better technology and a better customer experience. With Uber, you get once you're done your ride, you get an email back showing you the route that the driver took. Like that provides me peace of mind as a customer that my driver took the right route. I was hard to say, right route. But think of the old experience. I'm lucky to even get a thank you from a taxi driver. And however, I say this very cautiously because I know you have that story of that taxi driver in Dallas, so I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak from my experiences, but I've never had a fantastic taxi experience. And Uber came in and is providing one. Same with Airbnb as well too. I just don't think there are barriers of entry anymore. Two things: technology, customer experience, and you have an opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, they're definitely a disruptor. And I was recently talking with a client who said we want to hire a company that's a disruptor. We want to know how they came about it and how they're thinking about it. And I said to the client, I said, I think you're making a huge mistake trying to find one of those people to come in and talk to you. And they said, why? I said, because I think what you really need to do is you need to find a company that's been disrupted and then overcame it, and not just survived, but thrived in the disruption. I mean, Airbnb, Uber, they're great. And I use Uber when I'm out and about and I love their customer service. They did fail me once, and they bent over backwards to fix it to make sure that the next time I would try them again. And I did, and they recovered. But be that as it may, you're right. You're marrying technology with the ability to deliver. So, and I think the key is what is it that companies or what is it that you can do that your competitors aren't? Or do you want to get into an industry? Richard Branson is famous for this. Why did he start Virgin Air? Because all of these airlines were out there doing something he called, they were giving the passenger the Mickey. Okay, and the Mickey was meaning they're taking advantage of them. They're not giving them the service they deliver. He says, I'm going to put a great service airline out there, and it's going to eat their lunch. And surely it did. Here's a good one. It's just a perfect example of what you're talking about, Michel. Cable TV. Now, you're a millennial, okay? And millennial means you're younger than I am. And chances are, when you were a kid, how many cable stations did you have at your fingertips? Do you remember?
Just a handful, not as many as there are now.
Well, define handful for me.
Cable station. Well, sorry, help me. Cable stations like the providers of the cable or news networks?
No, the actual stations. Like today, you have 400 stations you can use from cable.
I don't know, maybe a dozen actually.
Well, okay, so a dozen is better than what I had. I had 4. Okay, when I was a kid. That was it. Today there's 400. Cable is an amazing, life-changing experience. Just as you mentioned, you have Netflix. That changes the way everybody does business. Well, cable is just simply a technology that grew and grew and grew out of the typical television industry. Then you've got the cable providers, who are, unfortunately, in a class by themselves, is some of the lowest level customer service that you get from any provider of any type of business or service. And it amazes me that here's this unbelievable technology, and then there's this provider that says, sure, if you want our technology, you've got to stay home, take a half a day off work because we want a 4-hour window, and hope that we show up during that 4 hours, right? So, but now imagine if the companies that you talked about, what if Netflix, what if Airbnb decides, or how about Richard Branson decides to disrupt the cable industry by getting into it and showing them how it should really be done? How do you think cable would be at that point?
I really wish I knew the name of the company. I'll send it to you after. But there's a company in California that tried to do that. They had this own antenna that brought in all the feeds together and essentially was disrupting the industry. They got shut down. I think there was $100 million in venture capital that was given to this company. They got shut down. So what does that tell me? It tells me the current news companies, the HBO or the current providers like HBO and Fox and stuff like that, they feel threatened. So knowing how powerful they are with their lobbyists, they have the ability to shut that down. So to answer your question, they clam up, right? They don't like threats. They like status quo. And status quo, which is operated by those major players, is bad for you and me because we don't get to see a different experience because they own that market.
So the issue with that particular technology, if I remember, is that there were a couple of things. It wasn't the HBOs that were trying to shut them down. Actually, it was in a sense, because what was happening is they were providing the service via the internet and allowing you to bypass the fees that the networks on the cable companies are charging. So I get that. But the cable providers themselves should be shaking in their boots because, and we're talking about the Charters and the Comcasts and all these others out there, because those are the ones that need to be concerned. Because if this company that was basically using their antenna system or whatever technology to be able to deliver to your internet started to say to HBO and Showtime and all the news and sports networks, say, hey, guess what? We're willing to pay you fees. We're willing to charge those customers. And what we're going to give those customers is a better experience because now they don't have to watch cable TV necessarily on their TV, although they can. They could just watch it through their internet. We don't have to invade their house, put up wiring, worry about a cable getting cut on by like a power line sometimes gets cut when there's construction. They're going to create a better experience and a better service experience. So they're a disruptor in a sense. It'd be interesting to see what would happen. Hey, Michel, we are starting to run out of time here, and I always like to end by asking our guest on the Hangout like one final huge tip that you can share with us that would really kind of bring this all together and something that's actionable, something we can be thinking of. What do you think? What do you have in your mind?
Sure. So we're entering Q4 of 2014. Regardless of whether you think you're delivering a poor experience, average, or if you think you're the best delivering customer experience, spend Q4 at 5,000 feet looking down in your business and always be refining. Look for those touch points. Tie it back to your voice of the customer program and say, what are our customers saying about each one of our touch points? That will give you enough info for 2015 for you to start redesigning, refining, or recreating your customer experience. Too many people businesses, professionals neglect the customer experience, that it always needs to be refined. You can't just stay happy with the status quo because that's when you become vulnerable.
Right. Well, it sounds to me like it's starting with that journey map that we talked about earlier. But when people put together the journey map, I caution them, it's not a simple process. You can't just approach it from the front line. The best journey maps and customer experiences take every single department, and I'll go a step further, almost every single employee into consideration, or at least job responsibility, as they create that journey map. Because if internally something isn't impacting the customer positively at some point, or supporting something that is, it's probably a part of the system that should go away or be merged into something else. So, Michel, great comments today. Great, awesome ideas. The whole concept of making our customers more successful, more smarter, more efficient, and using technology to do it. It's fantastic. You've been a great resource. Thanks so much for coming out. And Michel, any last parting words before we jump off here?
None other than thank you for having me. And if you want some more content around that theme, just my website, michelfalcon.com.
Yeah. Tell them where are we going, michelfalcon.com?
MichelFalcon.com, MichelFalcon.com.
MichelFalcon.com, and you'll get lots of information. You'll get great articles. You know, he's a superstar. He's a young guy, but don't be fooled by that young, good-looking guy that's on that video. No, he's a sharp dude, like, that's been around for a long, long time. He worked with some great. He's got some great clients. He worked with a great company, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and I just really enjoyed having you on here. Thanks so much, Michel. Our people that are going to watch this will love your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, really appreciate you spending time with us today. This is Shep Hyken, and I am always reminding you to be amazing. Thanks for watching.